We think the world is sane. Well, we people in this room don't, but so many people do, when it is utterly insane. I decided a long time ago, when I started to realize what was happening, that there was nothing for me to do with my life other than try to alert people to what was going on, and also alert people to the way that their sense of who they are and their sense of reality and the sense of what the world is they live in has been distorted, manipulated, and sold to them as a fake persona and a fake reality. And so I get up every morning and I go to bed every night, and between the two I focus almost the entire time on doing what I do. When you have empathy with the consequences for others of your actions, or you have empathy with how they will feel, that immediately has an effect on your actions. You won't harm a child, not least because you can empathize with the suffering of the child if you do certain things. The key thing, I think, for people to appreciate about those that are manipulating not just British society but global society is that they are of a level of consciousness that does not have empathy. They do not have any emotional consequence by seeing the effect on others of their actions. Now, if we just take a breath and think about that, that means there are no limits on these people for the actions that they will take. So you or me, the very thought of taking someone's organs in the way that you've described would just fill us with horror. But to the people doing it, it's matter of fact. It is of no emotional consequence to them. And I've said to people many times, if you see or judge what others will do on the basis of what you will do, then you've lost the plot, because the people doing it do not have the same emotional state that the rest of us do, unfortunately. My family kind of support me in this and all the rest of it, but to be honest, if they didn't, and if no one else did, I would still do it, and I'd still do it with the passion that I do it. As Gandhi said, even if you're in a minority of one, the truth is still the truth. But the great thing is that I'm not in a minority of one. What's happened is that the manipulators have hijacked the mainstream of public awareness and public information. And there are people all over the world that basically think and see reality in the same way, who have no idea that there are others all over the world that see reality in the same way. So they think, I'm different, I'm odd, I must have got it wrong, I must be crazy. And what I'm trying to do, and what I am doing, I've had a lot of success in doing it, is to be a voice there that says, hey, you're not alone. You know, you're not alone. And if I've had a reaction more than any other over the years, it's thank goodness I realized I wasn't crazy. There are other people that think like me. And it's kind of an antidote to divide and rule. And it's having an effect without any doubt. I mean, I was talking to a man and a dog when I started out.
First they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you win. You're not alone.
You see, the world population is in a hypnotic trance. This is the thing. Our consciousness experiencing it in this reality for a short time through this, what I call this body computer. And the computer can think for itself up to a point. It's not like a computer that just takes in data and then reacts to order. It has the ability to assess information and react on the basis of that assessment. That's what things like the immune system are doing all the time. And if our consciousness goes to sleep or cannot get enough impact on the computer, then basically the computer runs itself. And I see so many people in what I call computer mode, where you can predict what they're going to do just as much as you can type data into a computer and press enter. You know what the computer's going to do. You can do that with people. We are programmable until we become much more conscious than we are. When we are in what I call just body consciousness, we are extremely programmable because this is a computer. And people don't realize that the five senses are just sending information to the brain, which then decodes that information. And so if you are in a hypnotic stage show, I've seen people eating potatoes, for instance, and thinking they were apples. I've seen people who thought there was an elephant in the audience. Why? Because the hypnotist implants into the brain, if you like, the lower mind stroke brain, a belief in reality. And that's the same principle as in China, where they firewall off most of the internet so that people there cannot access it. What the hypnotist is doing is basically imposing interrupting the normal decoding mechanism of the brain. So with the example of the potato and the apple, the electrical signal carrying the taste of the potato it goes to the brain as normal, but it decodes it differently because of the implanted belief that the guy's eaten an apple. And this basic principle is used on us all the time, not least through the greatest hypnotist known to humanity at this time, the television, which is telling us constantly what to believe is real, what to believe in terms of who we are, what to believe is success, what to believe life is about. And if we then go through an education system which is nothing more than indoctrinating children with the official version of reality, then by the time we become adults, we can become, if we are not holding our consciousness, we can become only body conscious, and we can become programmed in the way that we see the world. We can become hypnotized, like stooges on the stage of a hypnotist. What information does is it basically reminds people of facts they already know and realities they already know, but the hypnosis has made them forget, i.e. we are all infinite consciousness. And it triggers them to start to wake up. It's like whispering in their ear, wake up, wake up, wake up. Your infinite consciousness, remember. And it can have a very powerful effect on people, where people wake up real fast and go, whoa, why didn't I see it before? Because you just woke up from a trance. And it's information is a very, very powerful thing for changing people's sense of reality. And that's what I'm trying to do, get it into places it wasn't getting before. Einstein has a wonderful phrase. It's been quoted using different ways, but basically it says this: you cannot solve problems with the same level of consciousness that created them. Now, what we're living in is a world that is controlled by the intellect, which is a very low level of consciousness. The intellect operates through the left brain overwhelmingly, and it's about language, it's about seeing the world in parts, it's about looking at the complexity and delving into the complexity, and it's about, can I see it, touch it, taste it, smell it, therefore it must exist.
And what keeps people from understanding this? The constant hypnotic trance that we put in. You are feeling sleepy. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Pressure, pressure, pressure. Whatever happened to life? How do you spell happy, teacher? What's all that about? Do we ever talk about that? Are you happy? Are you fulfilled? You know, people, we have these measurements of success that are sold to us that we take on, and they're all about more. More and more and more. How many more people are this? How many more people are that? How many more people are this? How many more people have passed degrees? How many more people have got a mortgage? How many more people? And yet it's the other way. It tells the real story. How few people are unfulfilled. How few people are under stress. How few people are ill. How few people are homeless. How few people are terrified of the future. These are the measurements of a success of society, surely, not more and more and more.
What I am really is a dot connector. You see, when you are someone, and there are so many people in the world like this, that is appalled at injustice, that is appalled at the imbalance of the way the wealth and resources of the world are shared out. When you see people paid starvation wages to make famous products in the poorest countries in the world, then you go to a certain level of realizing that there's injustice in the world. But if you stay behind that line that sees how it fits together, or at least some of it, you're still looking from the perspective of greedy corporations wanting more wealth and more power, greedy banks and governments that help the greedy banks and the greedy corporations. The big line to cross is when you realize that the greedy banks, the greedy corporations, the governments that help the intelligence agencies, those that control the military, the pharmaceutical cartel, the oil cartel, the biotech cartel, are actually controlled by the same network of families. Mm-hmm. Then you move into a completely different perspective of the world that you're looking at.